Attention passionate Atlanta, FALCONS fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, buckle up because what we're about to discuss is nothing short of a potential game changer for the Atlanta Falcons. The NFL trade deadline is approaching fast, and there's a lot of buzz around a possible blockbuster move that could reshape the Falcons' defense in a way that fans haven't seen in years. And no, I'm not talking about some minor tweak or a backup signing. We're talking about a move that could elevate the Falcons' front seven into serious elite territory, all centered around a name that's been making waves recently: Roquan Smith from the Chicago Bears. You see, the Bears are in a bit of a rebuild phase. They're sitting at 3-4, and statistically, their run defense isn't terrible but isn't exactly stifling either, ranking 24th in the league, allowing about 134 yards per game. Their pass defense isn't much better, and that's partly due to some issues along the offensive line and a defense that's trying to find its identity. The Bears have some cap space, around $20 million, and they're looking to make some moves that will set them up for the future, which means they're open to trading some of their top assets. One of those assets is Roquan Smith, who has been a Pro Bowler in 2022, 2023, and now in 2024, and he's been a key player for Chicago, especially in the linebacker core. Now, why would the Bears consider trading him? Well, for starters, they're prioritizing rebuilding their offensive line, which has been a leaky point, allowing almost 3 sacks per game, ranking 23rd in the league. They're also trying to give their young quarterback more time and protection, and perhaps that means focusing on the trenches rather than trying to maintain a top-tier linebacker. Plus, with Smith's recent injury-free run in 2025, no injuries, playing 96% of snaps, and a PFF coverage grade of 94. 8. He's clearly healthy and performing at an elite level. His stats speak volumes: 98 tackles, 5 sacks, 22 tackles for loss, and a negative EPA per tackle of -0.24, which is top among linebackers. He's a leader on the field, drawing comparisons to guys like Bobby Wagner, and his leadership and production could be exactly what the Falcons need to bolster their defense, especially after losing D'Angelo Malone to injury and needing someone to anchor that middle. This is where the Falcons come into the picture. After their bye week, Atlanta has been looking to strengthen their front seven, particularly against the run. Their current rank, 21st in rushing defense, shows they need help, and adding a proven Pro Bowler like Smith could be the boost they need. Cadden Ellis and Troy Anderson have been doing a commendable job, combining for over 130 tackles, but they lack that elite-level presence that can truly change the course of a game. Smith, with his ability to stop the run, rush the passer, and cover tight ends and running backs in coverage, could be that X-factor that elevates this defense into a top 10 unit. And let's not forget, the Falcons have a lot riding on this season, with a roster that's talented enough to make a deep playoff run, but missing that one piece to push them over the edge. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Roquan Smith is only 27 years old, and he's reaching what should be his prime years. His leadership qualities are off the charts. Think of him as a younger version of a Kuechly or a Wagner, but with more explosiveness and versatility. The stats are there, but what really matters is how he could transform the Falcons' defense into a disruptive, dominant force. With a projected 170-plus tackles in the upcoming seasons if he stays healthy and continues his trajectory, Smith could become the cornerstone of the Falcons' defense for years to come. His ability to generate turnovers, averaging about 1.6 per game, would give Atlanta more possessions, more scoring opportunities, and could help them control the clock more effectively with their solid offense led by Kirk Cousins. And speaking of the NFC South, this move could have ripple effects across the division. The Saints, with Alvin Kamara and their own defensive questions, are looking to get back into the playoff picture. But if the Falcons add a player like Smith, their defense instantly becomes a nightmare for division rivals. Imagine a front seven with Ellis, Anderson, and Smith, all working in tandem to stifle their opponent's run game and pressure the quarterback. This could be a game changer, especially considering the Falcons' recent trend of improving their pass rush, but needing that extra push to get sacks and force turnovers. Their current sack average, around 2. 2 per game, is decent, but with Smith, that number could jump significantly, creating more third-and-long situations for their opponents and turning the tide of games more consistently. Now, let's talk about the odds for a moment. The betting odds for the Falcons making a deep playoff run have recently shifted from +10, 0 to about +4, 200, and acquiring a player like Roquan Smith could push those odds even further in their favor. Imagine the impact of a linebacker who can tackle, rush, and cover at an elite level, elevating the entire defense. His addition could be the difference maker that takes the Falcons from a good team to a legitimate contender, especially with the playoffs approaching and every game becoming more critical. Of course, there are always questions about cap space, fit, and chemistry. The Falcons are in a good position cap-wise, and adding Smith wouldn't just be a rental. If the trade happens, it's about building a core that can sustain success for years. His leadership in the locker room, combined with his on-field production, would serve as a rallying point for the defense and a signal to the rest of the league that Atlanta is serious about competing at the highest level. And let's not forget, the division is wide open. The Tampa Bay Bucks are struggling, the Saints are inconsistent, and the Panthers are still trying to find their footing. If Atlanta can solidify their front seven with a player like Smith, they could not only make the playoffs, but also position themselves as the team to beat in the NFC South. Now, let's take a moment to consider the long-term implications. A move like this not only boosts the Falcons' chances this season, but also signals their intent for future seasons. Roquan Smith, with his age and production, could be the leader that inspires the entire defense to perform at a higher level. His presence could also help the development of younger players, like Troy Anderson, by taking some pressure off and allowing him to learn from one of the best in the game. The Falcons have a talented roster, and adding a player of Smith's caliber shows their commitment to building a sustainable winning culture. And I know many of you are eager to see what happens at the trade deadline, which is just around the corner. The Bears management is reportedly considering offers, including a first-round pick in 2026, which shows how highly they value Smith and how serious they are about rebuilding. For the Falcons, acquiring him would be a bold move, but one that could pay dividends for years. It's about making a statement, about saying to the division and the league that Atlanta is serious about contending and that they're willing to make the tough moves to get there. Now, let's recap what this means for the Falcons. Adding Roquan Smith would immediately upgrade their linebacker core, providing a leader and playmaker that can change the dynamic of games. His ability to stop the run, rush the passer, and cover tight ends and running backs makes him a perfect fit for their defensive scheme. His presence would also help reduce the number of big plays allowed, which has been a problem at times this season. Plus, with the Falcons' offense, led by Kirk Cousins and a solid supporting cast, controlling the clock and keeping the defense fresh becomes even more critical. Smith's tackling and turnover creation could be the difference in close games, pushing Atlanta closer to that elusive playoff spot and maybe even beyond. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this possible trade? Do you believe Roquan Smith can be the missing piece that elevates this team into serious playoff contenders? Are you excited about the potential of him anchoring that defense and leading the way to a new era of success? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinions matter so much to us and to the Falcons themselves. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, more rumors, and more analysis on everything happening in the NFL and especially with our beloved Atlanta Falcons. So stay tuned, stay passionate, and keep supporting your team. This is what makes being a Falcons fan so special, being part of a community that's always looking ahead, always believing, and always ready for the next big thing. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into the potential Roquan Smith trade, folks. Remember, the NFL offseason, deadline, and draft are all about these moments of excitement and anticipation. Whether it happens or not, it's clear that the Falcons are positioning themselves to be aggressive, to improve, and to compete at the highest level. And with a player like Smith possibly joining the ranks, the future looks even brighter. Until next time, keep the faith, stay loud, and as always, go Falcons.